Good afternoon. Welcome to Board of Adjustment. It's 1:30. We've got a quorum, so call the meeting to order. And I'm going to take an item out of order. We're going to start with communications and reports from board members because I have something. While everybody's here, the city is looking at increasing some filing fees. So just a heads up, it's just certain items. This is expected to be introduced May 22, and then a June 3rd hearing at council. And what might affect folks that are here is the appeals. The filing fee is going to go, it's proposed to go up to $1,450, and special exception for home sharing is proposed to go up to $1,100. So if that interests you, I've got an email address that we can give you later if you want to voice your opinion, and there's going to be an informational Zoom meeting on May 22nd. See us after if you want these addresses. But just a heads up to the folks that are in here, there's consideration of raising some of the filing fees. Okay, anybody else have a board comment? Okay. Let's go back to the top. I already called it to order. Everybody read the minutes? Do we have a motion? Changes, corrections?
Motion to receive the May 1st, 2025 minutes.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes.
It passed.
Recorded as passed on our end.
Okay, even though it isn't on the screen, we got enough yay votes, we're done. Minutes are received, thank you. Cindy, we got a few continuances, please.
Since we have item number 14, case number 15917, continued to June the 5th. Item number 15, case number 15918, continued to June the 5th. Item number 16, case number 15920 is continued to June the 5th. Number 17, case number 15919 is continued to June 5th. Item number 18, case number 15921 is continued to June 5th. Item number 19, case number 15922 is continued to June 5th. Item number 20, case number 15903 is continued to June 5th. And item number 21, case number 15888 is withdrawn. And I have a new request of item number 4, case number 15912, that has been withdrawn.
Okay. I don't think we vote on withdrawal, but need a vote on the continuances. We have a motion?
Motion to continue case number 15903 and numbers 15917 through 15922 to continue that to the June 5th, 2025 meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue those items. Cast your votes.
I did it.
Well, those are continued. Do we have any requests for continuance from anyone here in the audience? Okay. I don't have a consent docket, so Cindy, you want to call the first one, please?
So we have item number 1, case number 15926, is a request of Scott Belsford on behalf of BKGR Investments LLC for a variance to setback regulations located at 14413 North MacArthur Boulevard.
Give us your name and address and tell
Good
us about the
afternoon,
application, please.
Board members, my name is Tony Blatt. I'm with ADG Blatt Architects. We've got Scott Brelsford with our office here, and we're presenting on behalf of the owner. What we have is a dental clinic, a dentist that asked us to come and provide them a space for his new dental clinic. And we did so based on the program that he gave us, which was a 6-chair clinic. And he had a space off of MacArthur that was the property that he had purchased. I realized after we had laid it out that because of where the city is deeming the rear yard setback as being on the west side of the property, that we did not have enough room to create the clinic that he had asked for in his program. So what we are doing is we're requesting a variance, and we understand the variance is based off of the 4 criteria: unnecessary hardship, peculiar conditions, no substantial detriment, and minimum necessary relief. I'd like to address them slightly out of order, if you don't mind. So the second item of peculiar conditions, the lot is 168 feet wide, east to west. After you take out the room for the right-of-way, the room for parking lots, the room for sidewalks on both the east and west side, we get down to basically a little bit more than a 50-foot depth that we have for our building. 50 feet is very narrow for a retail or any kind of a professional structure like we're trying to accomplish. It would be much better if the proportions could give us even upwards of 75 or 100 feet. So having this narrow depth lot is creating an inefficient building, and it's very oddly proportioned on the site. So that's the first thing. That is creating our hardship. Over the last 30 years, I've built about 60 dental clinics, somewhere between 50 and 60 dental clinics. And one of the main things that dentists always want whenever they're looking to build a building ground up and they are in control is they want north-facing light for their windows. They want that nice north natural light, not only for the patient that's sitting in the chair, but also for the professional when they're doing their work. They don't want east or west light that is horizontal that would come in and create an issue. This is a 6-chair clinic. The dental clinic exam room space typically is 10 feet wide, 12 feet deep. So just for the size of the clinic operatory spaces, I need 60 feet, plus another 4 feet for the width of the walls and the interior and exterior walls. So I need about 64 feet, and we have about 54 feet for our building. So it's a hardship from the standpoint of the fact that the dentist can't position his rooms in a way that would allow him to operate the way that he normally does and the best practice for a dental operatory layout. So being able to have this additional 10 feet, reducing the rear yard setback to 5 feet would actually allow him to operate in the way that's the best use for him. When it comes to the minimum, when it comes to no substantial detriment, the adjacent property is actually about 3 times wider in an east-west direction than what our property is. And because of that, they're already under development. They have, from our property line to their parking lot, is 28 feet. From our property line to their building is greater than 160 feet. This is already under construction. So we are not impacting this adjacent property, which is zoned exactly the same as us. It's not an adjacent property that's zoned something different that we're trying to create a buffer. But so we're not impacting that adjacent property owner because they have 28 feet to their parking lot and 160 something feet to their building. And then when we talk about minimum necessary hardship, again, we're trying to create these dental operatory spaces that face north. We have a 6-chair clinic, and we need 60 feet plus the room for the room for the walls. If anything less than the 10 feet, and I can't get that 6th chair in there, and that creates that hardship for the dentist because he can't get those operatories facing the way that works best for him. And I'd be happy to answer any question.
Questions, comments from the board?
Just a question for me. I'm familiar with the site, went to the site. The school's being constructed right now.
Sure.
the separation between two parcels in an O2 zone is 15 feet with the rear yard setback. And in this condition, it's,
Sarah Welch, Planning Department. I'm sorry, you're asking what is the rear setback typically in O2?
yeah.
It's typically 15 feet. Now, this PUD is the track that it's in. The 15 feet would be measured from their rear property line. So if this had been developed as like an office park under one larger parcel, then this setback issue would not arise.
The side yard setback is typically a 5-foot in this condition, which is what we're asking for adjacent to this other property. The way that the city, when we reached out to the city to ask them which one are they deeming as our rear, they said, even though we're entering from the north, we're having a MacArthur address, so they see it as that's the rear yard. But we're seeing it as, we're asking for it to be seen as the 5-foot side yard setback, same as.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yes, 5. And the other thing is, for our commercial and industrial districts, when you're a commercial next to a commercial or industrial next to industrial, there is no rear setback. It's only triggered when you're adjacent to residential. That's not the case for O2.
The construction material on the rear of this building,
Masonry?
masonry, match the other three sides. And it is up against the parking lot. I think in this condition, I'm okay with the variance.
Yeah, if I'm understanding correctly, if it was done, to Sarah's point, at the same time, it wouldn't be an issue anyways. I believe the burdens have been met. I see the hardship of the layout, and I appreciate you articulating it that way. I was at the dentist yesterday, and as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, it's north. I've been to 3 different dentists in my life, and all of the windows have been on the north. So I learned something new today. So thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Nobody signed up to speak on this matter. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay. Ready for a motion?
Motion to approve case number 15926 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested variance.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes.
Roberta didn't get it. We got it. It came.
I got it. You're approved.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Item number 2, case number 15931 is a request of Ryan Smith of SRB LLC on behalf of the City Solid Waste Operations Center for a variance to the fencing regulations located at 11501 North Portland Avenue.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Ryan Smith with SRB, and I'm representing the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Department. The request is to replace an existing barbed wire chain link fence with the same type of fence. The fence is just in need of repair. The reason for the variance is because this area is currently and mistakenly zoned as residential. The Oklahoma City Water Utilities Department is aware of this and plans to work with the Municipal Counselor's Office this year to correct this zoning as well as some right-of-way issues on Portland. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get that done in time for an upcoming construction project, and so that is the reason for the request.
Okay, anything from the board?
Anyone sign up to speak?
Nobody signed up to speak on this one. Does anybody want to address the board on this application?
So mainly the variance is the fact that you are going to put barbed wire on the top of it.
Correct.
It's matching what is there. Keep the kids out. Makes sense. Motion.
It's your turn.
It's my turn? Okay, I just was making sure. Motion to approve then case number 15931 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested variance.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes.
I was waiting for Mike to go through your normal spiel over there. Sorry about that.
You're approved.
So we have item number 3, case number 15911, is a request of Leslie Scroggins for a variance to regulations concerning trailer parking in the R1ZL Single Family Zoning District located 2524 Northwest 197th Terrace. And there has been protest received. There's a code violation. However, we did just receive a waiver from the homeowners association. And I can read it out loud if you want me to, and then pass it around. But it says, this is to the applicant, the Castleberry Homeowners Association. Oh, she gave him one? Okay. Okay. There you go.
I'm sorry, I'm Julie Fulton, I'm an attorney, and I'm going to represent Mr. Scroggins. Mr. Scroggins is here, as well as Mary Ann Scroggins, which is his daughter and caretaker. And I handed this packet to the clerk today. We do have a waiver, and I have provided her a copy and can pass it around, or I can read it into the record. But the homeowners have granted a waiver for him to be able to park his trailer in the driveway so that he can transport his, it's the scooter that the wheelchair that he is riding in today, that is, the trailer is attached to his PT Cruiser, and that is how he's able to get around. And so I know that there had been prior objections, but they have indicated for me to make this aware to the board today that they have granted this waiver. Our concern, though, as well, is that he had received a citation back in February, on February 10th, 2025, that he was in violation of Ordinance 59-10400. The way that I read the statute, or the ordinance, excuse me, and one other person had read it at one point to him, they didn't believe that he would be in violation as long as the trailer was moved from the side yard to a hard surface, which was his driveway. Somebody come back to him and said, no, they believed that he would be in violation if he had the trailer anywhere in the front whatsoever. Again, we have the waiver now from the homeowners that have objected. And I believe in looking at this ordinance, he would not be in any violation. But to the extent that he would be, he's asking for that variance in order to permit handicap parking in his driveway of his own driveway with his trailer. And so, again, I wasn't representing him at the time that the citation was given. I do not believe he's in violation of this ordinance since it's on a hard surface. It is not blocking the sidewalk. It is 18 feet from the curb, and all of the other, there's no access to the side yard. It's way too narrow for him to be able to do it there. I believe all of the conditions are met. But to the extent that that would be considered a violation by the city of that ordinance, we would ask for the variation for the handicap parking of the trailer. He's also asking for a variance for a handicap parking space in front of his home. During the winter months, or if it's raining, it makes the driveway slippery, or there's icy conditions, it makes it very difficult for him to walk out on the driveway because of the incline. There's a fear of falling or slipping with the wheelchair. So he would like to have a designated handicap parking space in front of his own home that does not block the mailbox, and this would allow him, there's many people that have parties on the weekends, they have guests, they park all over because of the way that his home is situated. And so he would like to have this designated spot so that he can make sure that he can get to his vehicle. And so he is asking for that variance as well. We've also included, I know he had included in his original packet pictures of the trailer that's parked to his car. We'd also had included his Department of Veterans letter that says he's 100% disabled vet, along with some letters of members or neighbors that have said they had no problem with his trailer or his vehicle being parked out there. And just a picture of the side yard. So we believe that that it would create a hardship for Mr. Scroggins not to have that, and that's why we requested the variance. Thank you.
May I ask a couple of questions
ahead.
for clarification? The waiver that you were talking about, is that from the Homeowners Association of Castleberry?
Yes.
Okay, did I also understand you to say that some of the homeowners who maybe had raised some objections to his application have also changed their minds? Or was it simply that the Castleberry Homeowners Association has granted a waiver in writing? Is that correct?
Yes, they originally objected
Okay,
and
yes,
submitted
I
a
think I
letter,
saw that. Mhm.
but they have now met, talked, and agreed to grant the waiver, of which is what they what presented to me yesterday to be able to present today. And that is from the attorney at the for the Castleberry Homeowners Association.
Okay, and going further, now, is the waiver for him to, park the trailer in his driveway, or?
That's correct. It specific,
It makes an adjustment to the CCNRs. The CCNRs say
Sure.
that you cannot have a trailer in your
Right.
driveway or in front of your house, and they're waiving that for
Yes.
this address.
and they specifically state that the Castleberry Homeowners Association hereby grants a waiver to the homeowner of the above described subject property from the prohibition against parking trailers in Section 4.6 of the Declaration of Conditions, Covenants, and Restrictions for the Castleberry neighborhood. Henceforth, Mr. Leslie Scroggins shall have the right to park his trailer only upon the driveway of the subject property. And then the waiver remains in a place for a period of 1 year, but shall renew automatically for successive 1-year periods, so long as the conditions of this waiver are not violated, or until the present owner no longer owns the subject property.
So today, we're to the variance itself, which is trying to make a variance to the two codes, the municipal codes.
Yes,
And-
that's correct.
And I might need some help, but is there actual prohibited code against parking a trailer in your driveway?
Yes.
There is, it's 59-10400.
But just a random trailer? I mean, I'm reading that as,
Says all trailers are prohibited from parking in the front yard, including watercraft trailers devoid of watercraft.
and, I mean,
Prohibited from parking on a city street. Sarah, do you have some additional information?
No, Sarah Welch, Planning Department. I put it on the screen and highlighted the two areas that were requested for variance. I believe that 7 is the one that is under code enforcement's purview, which is, what I'm showing on the screen are the conditions in which you can park your trailer. However, number 7 says, all trailers are prohibited from parking in the front yard, including watercraft trailers devoid of watercraft.
and you're interpreting that as to be the driveway and not the yard? That was mainly my question. I know that there were some photos of the trailer parked in the yard, but if it was on the hard surface, on the driveway.
I believe that code enforcement is interpreting, and I think I would agree, that this says that they're prohibited from parking in the front yard. There are other areas, there are other types of vehicles that are allowed if there's conditions that exist that they cannot park anywhere else. But number 7, I believe, is being interpreted that this applies to all trailers.
Yeah, but what I'm questioning is the yard, right? Is
Oh, versus, yeah.
the actual hard surface paved driveway.
Well,
Because that's what I read. The intent is to keep them out of the side yards, front yards, not.
this location is specifically about the front yard. Parking on grass is different, and I would defer to the applicant to say if they're actually here today to be able to park on the grass. That's a different.
Right, and I don't believe they are. That's why
Right.
I'm just questioning the ordinance and the interpretation, whether parking the trailer on your driveway on your own personal property is against the ordinance.
According to this 59-10400 D7, yes,
Can we,
that's our interpretation.
So if I may, I've got the ordinance as well in front of me, and it says specifically in D, outside parking in the front yard is permitted, provided, and it has 1 through 10. And in number 1, it talks about if there's not reasonable access to a side yard, which the applicant's saying we do not have access, there's no access to the side yard, it's too narrow in this neighborhood. 2, the unit is parked on a hard surface area. So it's saying outside parking in the front yard is permitted, provided that the unit is parked on a hard surface area, which is the driveway. So that's where it would be parked. The unit is parked perpendicular to the front curb, which it would be and is. 4, the body of the recreational vehicle, including the bumper and tongue of the recreational vehicles or watercraft, is at least 11 feet from the face of the curb, which this would be. It's 18 feet. The public sidewalk shall not be obstructed. It is not obstructed. The site triangle required by this chapter shall not be obstructed. It's not. So then it gets to 7. All trailers are prohibited from parking in the front yard, including watercraft trailers devoid of watercraft. We're not parking in the yard. We're parking on a hard surface, which is permitted under paragraph 2, which is permitted under D2. And because of the other items that would not be in any kind of violation, then I believe that 7 is talking about actually parking it in the yard and not on a hard surface. Because I don't see how they could have that it's permitted as long as it's on a hard surface, because that would contradict 7.
I agree with that. And furthermore, in that bullet 9, it says, for the purposes of this section, the front yard shall include the area either side of a residential attached garage that extends forward of the living area of the dwelling, which I can only interpret that as anticipation of the driveway coming out.
hypothetically, if we grant the variance to clarify these grass and hard surface issues, is there any reason we can't condition a variance on hard surface, no grass parking? I see the problem with the wording,
Yes.
and I don't want those things parked on grass, front yard. I don't have a problem with a driveway.
I don't either, but I also want to make sure that we're respectful of the applicant's request. So if they want, and I'm not trying to put words in you all's mouth, but if they want a variance to park in the grass, that's one thing, but it doesn't seem that a variance is even needed to park in the driveway. The other issue that I'm struggling with is from what we were read regarding the HOA exception, it's a condition that runs as long as the applicant is the occupant for the property. If we grant a variance, that's going to run with the property.
Can we narrow it then maybe down to, oh good Lord, definitional, to a handicap device? I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And then just on another note about the handicap space, I don't believe we have the right to do anything about granting a handicap space from this board. It's
But
out of our purview.
But I think we can vary the no parking on city street. But I agree, traffic commission, I think gives the, so anyway. All right. Anything else from the board?
I just have a question as far as initially the opposition included the HOA. You're now saying there is a waiver, but as to the other people who protested, are they in agreement? Were they notified by the HOA that the HOA was going to grant a waiver? What's that situation look like?
I don't know what I don't know what each homeowner that filed something in opposition, I don't know what they were notified of. I know that that they said that they had had a meeting and agreed that this waiver would be granted and that I could present this, which was done yesterday. So I don't know who all they talked to, or I don't know who was all a part of that meeting, but they said that they
And I think then again, they'd be protesting something that is actually legal to do, so.
It would be legal to do unless, I mean, the only day.
Well, they've been granted a variance from the neighborhood so they can park a trailer in their driveway. And so if they had a problem with them parking a trailer in their driveway, so be it, it's legal. They still, if it parks on the yard or in the side yard, then they can have a problem and file a complaint. I still want to know, do we really need a variance to the driveway parking?
I believe you do. I mean,
So
When-
I'm
when-
fine with it, and I think we should then.
Okay, when this first came forward, Cindy and I personally contacted code enforcement because we thought for sure there'd be an exception for handicap parking or handicap trailer parking. And so we really dove deep into this item D and this number 7 that's shown on the screen. So I do believe the variance would be needed in order to park on the driveway in what is considered the front yard, which is anything basically within the front building setback.
Even when you read number 9.
Number 9 says that for the purposes of this section, front yards shall include the area either side of a residential attached garage that extends forward of the living area of the dwelling. So it's the front wall. To me, it's the front, and it means if
either
you.
side of the drive.
I interpret that to say that if you have a front-facing garage that extends beyond your front door, basically, you can't park on either side of that if it is forward of basically your front wall or your front door.
But either side of the attached garage. And to me, that's the side yard and the front yard, but not the driveway.
Well, but the definition of front yard is an open area facing and abutting a street and extending across the front of the lot between the side lot lines and having a minimum horizontal depth measured from the street equal to the depth of the front yard setback. So I understand where I understand where yard is confusing everyone, but for our code enforcement team, it's defined by code, and it doesn't mean grass. It just means location between the street and your basically your building setback line.
Yeah, but when you read it, D2 says outside parking in the front yard is allowed, provided the unit is parked on a hard surface. So I mean, if you read that as one line, it says if it's on the concrete, it is permitted.
If you stop there, yes, that's true. And
But that's one
I don't
of
mean
them.
I don't mean to push back. It's just that this is the same conversation that we had with code enforcement while we were trying to decide if we really were going to need to bring Mr. Scroggins here today.
Well, and so I'm wondering, is there a way that we can get a letter, opinion letter from council as to what the statute itself and whether or not code enforcement has the ability to, put a citation out there based on the statute? I mean, I'm in agreement that if it's parked on the driveway, it's fine. I want to make sure, I go back to the opposition as to whether or not there are people that are opposing the CRs.
And the applicants filed the application, hired an attorney, and I'm in favor of the variance. It could be 10,000 more variances for this.
I understand. Well, we think that this is intended to capture more than just empty trailers. It's recreational vehicles, RVs, and there's different rules for that. And I can't explain why exactly the trailer is different. We're just interpreting the code, and I think that code enforcement and planning agree on how this is interpreted. Otherwise, we wouldn't have brought Mr. Scroggins here and made him pay to file the variance.
Grant the variance.
I just want to clarify, is this the same vehicle that is parked on the south side of the building today?
Yes.
Yes.
I saw okay.
Yes.
So this whole setup is it's not even extending beyond the parking spot.
No. That's,
The way this looks, I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah, that's how it looks.
That's the same thing that's on the north side.
Yeah. And it
And I
doesn't,
drove by the property this morning, and that's exactly what it looks like.
yeah. It doesn't extend into the sidewalk area whatsoever.
What year's the Thunderbird?
We can grant the variance. I mean, I have no
What?
problem with that.
What year's the Thunderbird?
What year's the Thunderbird?
1960.
So we don't have any protesters that we're aware of other than the HOA, which have changed their position.
Well, that was my question. I mean, in our packet, we have Laura, Sandy, and Mo, I'm just going by first names, 3 separate protest letters, and then there was the HOA. HOA's granted their waiver.
And
I'd like to know if these other 3 individuals are also granting in favor.
Sorry. I will state that Sandy is a member of the board, of the HOA board. And she had written a letter along with the board in the original, by the original deadline, but then they met, and again, I cannot state who all was a part of that, but then they
Right.
issued this.
And to me, I mean, those protesters can be mad at the HOA, but if the applicant's doing what they can do, they can, it is what it is.
My comment would be that we, in granting a variance, would tailor it very narrowly to, reflect what the HOA said, so that
Tied
we
to the
don't just
waiver.
open up.
Yeah.
you
Can't
know,
block the
door.
sidewalk, it has to be on hard surface.
What do we do about the time component of it?
The what?
The time component, because the HOA's position
year.
is that they only want to grant it for as long as he's the occupant. So do we have the
Ability.
purview to restrict it in that same manner? Or if we grant it, does it automatically run with the property?
I think it runs with the land.
That's my concern.
But we can also, I believe, put a time limit on a variance, that it expires automatically in 1 year, 2 year, whatever. So it's a temporary variance.
Is your client in agreement? Are they okay with the language that the HOA has provided, that they only need the variance while he's
We're in
occupying?
agreement to the waiver. I mean, we're in agreement for it to be parked on the hard surface, only upon the driveway, and we're in agreement to the terms, which is, but it would continue and renew every
As
year.
long as
As
he's-
long as he's
yeah.
occupying it.
So, I mean, if staff has the position that a variance is needed and the applicant is in favor of the exception that the HOA has made, then I'm perfectly fine with just granting a variance with what they're requesting.
If we grant a variance, does that resolve the code violation?
It may or may not, because we don't know
Okay,
what
good
the
answer.
citation said. So you could make it contingent on review of the citation with code enforcement if you chose. You could visit with them, see what they intended by that citation.
Are we trying to void the citation? Is that what you're trying to do?
I'd be okay with that.
Has the citation been paid?
They basically said they were waiting until after this. They would allow this for him to apply and have this hearing.
I think a stay,
Because we don't know what the violation
Right.
is. It could be because it was on the side yard and the grass. I mean, we just don't know what that is
says
saying.
stored improperly.
Right. I think we grant the variance and
Okay.
let the
So,
chips fall.
but we want to clarify, that's something separate. That would be granting a variance to a decision made by staff, in this case, code enforcement. So if, I'm fine with doing that, but I want to do the same thing I think I hear you guys saying, which is that variance, at least that portion of the variance will be conditional upon the fact that code enforcement says it was because it was in the driveway. Now, if they come back and say, no, we issued this citation because it was in the yard, then that variance wouldn't apply.
I think we just need to keep it simple. Do we really have the authority to overturn? We don't have the authority to overturn a citation issued by code enforcement, but we do need to, stick within our boundaries and issue a variance. So I think
And
that's
to
what
me,
we-
it also sounds like that maybe code enforcement is waiting on our decision to then follow up on what they will do. And I would assume if we and I'm assuming it, but if we grant the variance, they would maybe re-look at that citation.
Sorry, just one, I'm so sorry, one more thing for your consideration. So of these 10 items listed, which I'm sorry, I moved it off the screen, the relief is sought specifically for number 7. So if granted, any trailer parking would still have to comply with hard surface spacing, perpendicular to the curb, not blocking the sidewalk. So the relief is only sought for number 7, and then number 10 is listed because the applicant asked for that. I believe that's not really a code enforcement issue about parking in the city street. That'd really be more of a police issue and going to traffic commission for specific parking to be positioned. But I'm really focused on number 7, and I think that's what they're getting held up with specifically at code enforcement.
And I'm in agreement with granting the variance for number 7 by itself and really not number 10, because I think that if they do park in the street, it's temporarily only, and I don't think that's, even what the HOA granted a variance for, they're granting a variance for the driveway.
That's correct.
And you're fine with that?
Yeah, he doesn't park the trailer in the.
It's not going to be permanent. It'd be
Yes, I mean, if
day here, day there.
anything, yeah, if loading, but it's like quick.
Right.
He parks it.
Yep. And code enforcement's not running around getting landscapers all day for parking in the street, so it's
Yeah.
yeah.
So as far as timing, the length, there's no way to tie it to the waiver itself, since the waiver is granted yearly?
I think we can limit a variance. So we can say granted, but it expires in 1 year, or,
But then they'd have to come back and refile.
I know.
I'm not in favor of that.
I'd rather let the homeowners association deal with it, solve his problem as best we can.
Yeah, or that it expires if he's no longer residing at the residence.
Can we do that?
When the variance requested is specifically as to him and not to the location, then that seems appropriate.
Okay,
It's his use.
so I'm good with that.
All right. Let me run through the other, unless, Julie, you need to say anything else?
Do
Do you need to add anything else?
No, I don't. I just, clarification, so the parking in the street, but with the car, not the trailer, that variance is not being granted. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay. I've got one other person signed up.
Yeah, let's hear from them.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. It's Mary Ann Scroggins. I assume you're not opposing this.
So yeah, you're probably good.
Okay. Those are the only two that signed up to speak. Is there anybody here who wants to address the board on this application? Okay. Do we think we can word a motion?
I have no clue. But I will try. Motion to approve case number 15911 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested variance, specifically limited to Article 10, Section 10400.d, Subpart 7. And this is limited to for so long as the applicant resides at the home. Is that pretty close?
It's good.
I'll second, and I would also like to thank this gentleman for his service to our country.
Yes, thank you for your service.
Do we have to deny 10? Or if we grant 7 only, it's implied we,
That's just giving us the ordinance
right.
versus the status, but his actual question is this one.
Okay, I see. All right, keep going.
Are we good?
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. You're approved.
Item number 4 was withdrawn. Item number 5, case number 15891, is a request for a variance to the 25-foot front yard setback located at 600 Southwest 27th Street.
Does anybody claim this item? You want to just put it at the bottom and see if they show up late?
Okay. Item number 6, case number 15915, is an application by Lori Ray of Dutch Lane LLC to allow home sharing, 1932 Northwest 23rd Street.
Good afternoon. I'm Laurie Ray, owner of Dutch Lane Properties, and I'm requesting a 3-year extension on the home sharing, special exception for home sharing. And as far as I know, there's been no issues. We've maintained the property and improved the property on a regular basis.
Let's see, anything from the board? I don't have anybody signed up on this one. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay, anything from the board?
Did we have quiet hours listed in the application? Do you know? Quiet hours?
Yes. No parties nor tobacco consumption inside property. We haven't, as far as I know, we haven't had any complaints at all.
No, there wasn't any complaints. I just didn't know if we had set parameters for quiet hours on the
Oh,
property.
yeah, we did. I would have to talk to my son-in-law
Yeah,
who did it. So,
And then the number of vehicles?
that would be 4, wait,
You have a maximum of 4 guests. I think a maximum of 2 cars
yes.
would probably be okay.
Uh-huh.
And then I wanted to add no on-street parking to the application.
Yeah, there's no off-street or on-street parking, it's all in the driveway. There's a pretty significant driveway off Virginia, Circle Drive, and then a garage with 2 spots.
With that, other than that,
We ready, Mike?
Yeah, we don't have anybody else signed up. I think we're ready for a motion.
All right, motion to approve case number 15915 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested special exceptions with the modification that this will be for a term of 3 years, quiet hours from 9 p.m. to 8 a.m., maximum number of 2 vehicles, and no on-street parking during quiet hours.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes.
Thank you.
Okay, she's approved.
Item number 7, case number 15899, is an application by Colton Haskin to allow home sharing located at 2529 Northwest 11th Street.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Colton Haskin requesting the special exemption for 2529 Northwest 11th Street as well, home sharing license.
Nobody signed up on this one. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay, anything from the board?
Colton, this is a duplex?
Yes, sir.
But with that one address? Is that right?
2 addresses, 2529, 2531.
So this has 2 addresses with one application? 2 applications.
So for this application, it's just 2 bedrooms.
Each side has 2 bedrooms.
But each side has its own address?
Yes, sir.
So it's just two bedrooms in this
But I
application.
never did see the other one, so maybe. That's why I was questioning that.
That's not the application.
Colton, I think today we're going to just do 2529 Northwest 11th.
Okay. And then I'll have to just resubmit the application for 2531.
Or they can find it and you'll just probably have to come back and.
Sure,
that
no
one.
worries.
It's just one address.
That's why I was asking about the two addresses.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? And to be clear, we're only voting on 2529. Okay? Are we ready for a motion?
I'm going to just clarify some of the stuff on the application. And it's the number of vehicles. I'd like to just do 2 with this one
Okay.
and add no on-street parking and for a term of 1 year.
Okay.
It does say 2 vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we condition 2531 based on, I feel like, I
909.
don't know if we can preemptively allow it before an application's filed. Just for if you,
So we
I'm
don't
just trying to
have
be
to see it again.
efficient, but,
You guys don't want to see me again?
no, I'm just trying to help you.
Thank you.
The application was only submitted for 2529 Northwest 11th.
Okay.
It is in the R2 zoning district, which allows the duplex, but he did not put that on the application. It didn't list that we had to. So they would have to apply for the other side.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
Because we do have, where they just do one side or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we good?
Any other comments?
The only thing about like any type of conditional approval would we'd probably need to make sure staff has sufficient time to evaluate.
Yeah, I think we just do the
block
one
density.
today. and
Okay.
go
Yeah.
on. We're going to see you again.
Okay.
All right. We ready for a motion?
Yes, all right. Motion to approve case number 15899 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements or requested special exceptions with the modification that there is no on-street parking during quiet hours and for a term of 1 year.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. You're approved for this one.
Thank you, guys.
Item number 8, case number 1595, is an application for Ashley and Alexander Jonathan Borgerding to allow home sharing, 3500 Southeast 94th Street.
Hello, I'm Ashley Borgerding, just representing this property at 3500 Southeast 94th.
Okay, give us your address too, please, for the record.
My personal or the property we're talking about today?
Personal or business?
1415 Southern Shores Drive, Norman, Oklahoma, 73026.
Thank you. Tell us about your application, please.
So we just have decided, it's a home that me and my husband lived in previously, and we had long-term renters for, I think, the past 4 years. They have moved out, so we have just decided we wanted to do short-term rental. We do also offer it to, we have out-of-state family, and it's available to our church for missionaries when they come in. But in the meantime, we thought maybe Airbnb or something would be a good opportunity for us, so.
Nobody signed up to speak on this one. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay, anything from the board?
Just a couple of things. On the application, you're asking for 9, maximum of number of guests to be 9.
Yes, it is a 4-bedroom, so it's kind of what we're basing on it, just the beds that we have in the house, so that's why I put that.
So in the 4 bedrooms, you can sleep 9 people?
Yes. Yeah, there's 2 queens, oh, and the pull-out couch, I guess, would be that last one, but.
How many bathrooms are there?
What?
How many bathrooms are there?
There are 2 full bathrooms.
And I want to add the quiet hours to it and just change them a little bit to 9 PM to 8 AM.
Okay, yeah, I think I had 10 on there, but we can adjust that.
And the number of vehicles, can they use the garage?
They can, it's a 2-car, but we have half of it set up for like workout equipment, so they could fit 1 inside the garage and 2 in the driveway. And we have put on there not to park on the street because it's
Okay.
around a corner anyway.
So I want to put a maximum number of 3 cars,
Okay.
3 vehicles, and no on-street parking.
Okay. And just like write that in the information. Okay, we can do that.
I have a question. I was intrigued by the comment that you made, and it says, there are multiple locked rooms on this property, including bedrooms, closets, and garage. While you have full use of any open space, please do not tamper with any locked door. So does that impact the number of people?
So I actually, yeah, that will need to be updated. I had copied this because we were going to open it before with some closed bedrooms and just do like a 1-bedroom home, but we do have all of the bedrooms open now, and like I said, half of the garage, so I will have to update that wording, but the only remaining locked doors is the like utility closets. So, and we do have, keypads on the doors, so guests could lock them if they need to, but they are openable.
Any other questions or comments?
Good with 9?
Ready for a motion?
All right, motion to approve case number 15925 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested special exceptions with the modifications to quiet hours shall be from 9 PM to 8 AM, the maximum of 3 cars, no on-street parking during quiet hours, and a term of 1 year.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so cast your votes. You're approved.
Thank you. And just one clarification, so we will just redo this process next year to do the
Yes.
scan? Okay.
Yep.
Just
And
be
make
sure to apply, to renew before the expiration.
Right.
Gotcha.
You need a
Okay.
couple of months to start the process, is
Okay.
what we're saying.
Thank you.
Item number 9, case number 15927 is an application by Manuel Chavez on behalf of Ivyson Investment Group to allow home sharing located at 2641 Southwest 39th Street.
Good afternoon. My name is Cassandra Salas, and I'm representing Manuel Chavez for this exemption. The reason why we are...
Give us your address, too, for the record, please.
I'm sorry?
Give us your address for the record, please.
Our address will be 320 Golden Leaf Circle, and that is in Moore, Oklahoma.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No worries. The reason why we are applying for this exemption is because he is not the original owner, but he has acquired a lease on this property starting May 1st. He would like to have this permit available in order that he can actually present or list this property on the home sharing websites like Airbnb. But he is not the original owner, so that's the main reason why we're requesting this exemption. Number 9 and 10 as well are his. We have imposed rules for the guest. We plan on doing quiet hours, and there's no needed street parking since there's plenty for the amount of people that we're approving for each property.
Nobody signed up on this one. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay. Questions, comments from the board?
So he's leasing the property and then going to short-term lease this?
Correct.
Okay. maximum number of guests he's asking for is 4.
That is correct.
I'd like to add the quiet hours from 9 PM to, or I'm going to change that to 8 PM to 8 AM.
Okay.
Maximum number of vehicles, 4. 4 can park in that driveway,
Okay.
and no on-street parking.
Not needed.
And the term would be 1 year.
I guess my question would be, can you, if he's leasing the property, can he sublet?
Yes.
It depends on the terms of his lease, which.
Right.
Right. And that has been one of the things that was brought up in the short-term lease discussion in the rewrite, and so.
We
I
do,
wanna-
we have included, I'm sorry, we have included the authorization from the original owner as well.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure.
And are you the property manager yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to manage this
Correct.
property?
Ready?
Was that a motion, or are you going to make the motion?
I'll make the motion, I just want to make sure that,
Fantastic.
there was no sublet issues. All right, motion to approve case number 15927 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested special exceptions with the modification that quiet hours will be from 8 PM to 8 AM, maximum number of vehicles to be 4, and no on-street parking during quiet hours.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. You're approved.
Thank you.
Item number 10, case number 15928, is a special exception by Manuel Suarez on behalf of Alondro Esparza to allow home sharing located at 909 North Klein.
Again, this is a newly remodeled duplex. We have went ahead and applied for both sides of the duplex since there are different addresses. And same thing, we have acquired a lease and it's valid for a year. And we're wanting to get the same exemption since it is not under Manuel Chavez ownership.
Okay. Nobody signed up on this one either. Does anyone want to address the board on this application?
I just want to point something, I'm not sure if I said 1 year on that prior.
I heard it.
Okay.
Early.
I don't know if you said it, but I heard it. Okay. Yeah.
Just a couple of clarifications on this one. You want 4 guests,
Correct.
2 bedroom, 2 queens in each one?
Side,
Is it just a 2 bedroom, 1 bath on each side?
correct.
Okay. The parking situation, I was trying to figure out.
You know,
How that was
we
gonna work.
actually, yes, there's if you notice, there's a back area on the back of the duplexes, and there's an alley. This alley doesn't necessarily restrict any of the neighbors, since each neighbor around the area has its own entrance to their home, so we're not going to be in anyone's way. That back situation address, I guess it will have to be stated within the website how parking will be on the back of the duplexes. The other situation is that we will make sure or ensure that no guests are actually parking in the alley, as I mean, even though it's not going to be restricting on anyone's way, we want to make sure that we don't create any unnecessary trouble.
And so kind of what I was thinking is I would say that the maximum number of vehicles would be 2.
Correct.
And you could park 1 on the hard surface and then 1 in the street. And
Right.
I wouldn't, because you can park in the street there, so I wouldn't take away the parking. But I would like to see in the application, or in the advertisement, just a maximum of 2 vehicles.
Understood.
Anything else from the board?
Quiet hours?
Say 8 PM to 8 AM.
Okay.
Okay.
And then on the parking situation, you said 1 on the street, 1 on,
1 on the hard surface of the driveway, and it's going to be stacked, so.
I think we can actually fit 2, but, we will
Yeah,
create.
but I was going to
Exactly.
reserve the other hard surface one for the next application.
Got it.
so 1 on hard surface and 1, the other one where?
Street.
On street. Okay. Okay.
Ready for a motion?
All right. Motion to approve case number 15928 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the special exception. This shall, with the following modifications. This shall be for a term of 1 year, quiet hours from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., and parking's situated in so that one car is on the hard surface and one is on the street.
I'll second.
So sorry, from staff?
What? Is
The
there a
number of
problem?
people?
4.
I think that's, yeah, that was in the application. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody signed up on this one either. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay. I think we're ready for a motion.
I just made it.
I heard it.
I seconded, so.
Oh. Okay, we have a motion and a second. I don't have a voting panel yet. I'll vote yay.
Thank you.
You're approved.
Item number 11, case number 15929, is an application by Manuel Chavez on behalf of Alondro Esparro to allow home sharing at 911 North Klein.
This will be the other side of the duplex.
Just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Cassandra Sala, representing Manuel Chavez, 320 Golden Leaf Circle, and more.
Okay.
So, anyone sign up?
Not on this one. Does anyone want to address the board on this application?
Same modifications.
Same mods, then you're good.
Understood.
Yep.
Ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
All right, motion to approve case number 15929 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested special exceptions with the following modifications. This shall be for a term of 1 year, quiet hours from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., and vehicle parking shall be 1 on the hard surface, 1 on street.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. I vote yes.
Thank you.
Item number 12, case number 15923, is an application for special exception by Merrick Dobbs on behalf of 3 Geese LLC to allow home sharing, 6601 Northwest 113th Street.
Hello, my name is Mark Dobos and I live in Edmond, and I wanted to reapply for this permit for another 3 years. For 3 years. It has been in operation for 1 year.
There's nobody signed up on this one. Does anyone want to address the board on this application? Okay, anything from the board?
First, I just want to discuss the 2 code violations on this property, and I believe they're probably the trash cans that were left out.
Yes, I've talked to the person, and I thank the person that let me know because it was missed. It was not pulled back, and immediately when I was notified, I pulled it back.
And just remembering back from the first time that you came with this application, you're the property manager, right?
Right.
And looking at the application, it's a 4-bedroom home,
Yes,
but we granted a maximum of 10 guests.
right.
Just for my information, how many times would you say you've rented this with a 10 guests maximum?
Maybe once, but it's just like two people per room, and then it has 2 living rooms with a sofas, but you know, just it's about 10 people, very comfortable. It's 3,000 square feet, close
Yeah,
to 3,000.
it's a big house. I'm sure it's 4 bed, 3 bath.
4 bed, 2.5 bath.
2.5. And I don't remember if we were doing this at the time of the original application, but I want to limit the parking. Can they park in the garage?
They can park in the garage. Garage is empty for 3 cars, and there is 3 car driveway.
Okay. And so I'd like to put a maximum number of vehicles as at 3 with no on-street parking added to the application.
There is no outside parking.
Am I reading this right, that it was not timely foul?
It says it's a renewal, so it wasn't quite timely, I think, but it was submitted in April, and it
I know we've
ran out
been-
in March.
You're right. I mean, we've been pretty strict on that.
Right.
Quiet hours from 9 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah. You good with that? 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. on quiet hours?
Oh, yeah.
I think the term is the main thing, and I'm really okay with 3. He had no protests. He's been operating it. I think that neighborhood's pretty active, so if it wasn't doing well, we'd know.
So me personally, I think that we've come in within a 2-week before, and we said 1 year. I think that I'm willing to do 1 year, if you feel like you want to make it 3 year.
I'm okay with 3 years, but I also want to be consistent.
Right.
Is this, what was the expiration date on the initial application?
Well, he was granted a term from March 21 for a 1-year term, so March 2025, and then he applied April 1st.
Yeah, I think that we've consistently started over at 1 year as a result of that. I just want to be consistent in the way that I propose my motions. So just to let you know, because you didn't file your application prior to the expiration of your prior special exception, I've consistently, and I think as a board, we've taken the position that we treat it as a new application rather than a renewal. So we'll grant it for 1 year, and you just have to come back here, and like we told the young lady before, just make sure to at least
Understand.
apply prior to, so. Okay, ready?
Ready for a motion, I think.
All right, motion to approve case number 15923 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the special exceptions with the following modifications: quiet hours from 9 p.m. to 8 a.m., 3-car maximum, no on-street parking, and for a term of 1 year.
3 in the garage and 3 on the driveway, so 6 cars.
6 total?
Yeah.
6, all right, so modifying to 6 vehicles total.
But no on-street parking.
No on-street parking.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. I vote yes.
He doesn't want you to.
Doesn't like you to go.
Pardon? I still vote yes. You're approved.
Item number 13, case number 15924, is an application by Merrick and Anna DeBoss to allow home sharing located at 3113 Northwest 54th Street.
State your name and address again.
What?
State your name and address again for the record.
Oh, my name is Mark Dobos. I live in Edmond, and I'm applying for special exceptions to the property located in 3113 Northwest 54th Street. There are no restrictive covenants that specifically identify home sharing or short-term rentals as a prohibited use. There are no other short-term home rentals in the area. There is plenty of parking. There's two-car garage, which is gonna be for parking, and there is a driveway, so there is not case of parking on the street. There is no potential risk of increasing the traffic, because if the house would be rented, it would, still accommodate some people living there, so there will be some vehicles. And the streets are regular size streets, so there are no narrow streets in the area. And the house is perfectly located to the Integris Hospital, so there is strong demand for furnished short rentals for the medical personnel and the people waiting for the families to get the treatment. So we believe that this would be very helpful. And when we purchased the house in 2022, it was in unlivable condition, it was in horrible condition, and we restored it to the very good condition, and then repair every problem which was associated with the house.
And it's a 3-bedroom?
It's a 3-bedroom, two and a quarter bathrooms.
Okay. I'm
Quite
sure
a
there's some
few.
people signed up to speak,
Okay, I'll just take them in the order I got them.
so you can say.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Winters.
What?
Oh, come on up and
You can do that.
put it on the
actually.
record, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing today? My name is Ryan Winters. I live at 3124 Northwest 54th Street. If it would please the board, I would prefer if this gentleman over here would address the court before I express my concerns on this. He could give you a more better background on the situation that we see and foresee. So I'd like him to start off, if that'd be all right with you, gentlemen. Please, thank you.
Are you referring to Pete Galvin, Scott Cotton, Bruce Sankey?
Bruce Sankey, please.
Okay, I'm going to call you up next then, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Bruce Sankey, and for the past 18 years, I've lived at 3108 Northwest 54th Street, which happens to be the smallest home in Mayfair Hills, which is a neighborhood that includes the property at 3113 Northwest 54th Street. I'm a co-founder and former officer of the Mayfair Hills Neighborhood Association. To put it simply, small, homogeneous Mayfair Hills with its significant percentages of senior citizens as well as families with young children is a totally inappropriate neighborhood for a short-term rental. As a public safety issue, such a property poses a threat to neighborhood residents because of the strangers it would bring into this quiet, isolated, low crime rate neighborhood, because of the short, narrow, curving streets and no off-street parking. Plus, there are no through streets in our neighborhood at all. Because of the absence of any on-site monitoring of the property and guests, as well as rules enforcement. Because of the potential for late partying, noise, and incidents flowing from the large backyard swimming pool. Because of the city's poor record during the past 5 years of monitoring and controlling home shares and short-term rentals and responding to neighborhood complaints in an effective and timely basis. And because of the heightened danger to neighborhood walkability resulting from an increased number of autos, drivers unfamiliar with the area, and the total absence of sidewalks for seniors, children, or others to use. There are 5 large hotels within 1 mile of Mayfair Hills. They offer plenty of options in way of short stay rentals. They also have on-site personnel and management. But if public safety is just one reason, residents have submitted petitions representing 88% of Mayfair Hills dwellings urging you to reject this special exception. The City Action Center is another reason. To help keep Oklahoma City safe and well-maintained, the city operates its Action Center for citizens who report alleged non-emergency code violations such as high weeds, abandoned vehicles, junk and debris littered yards, and other neighborhood concerns. As stated in the Action Center website, citizen vigilance and participation are invaluable in maintaining the quality of the community and its neighborhoods. In deliberating this special exception application, it seems appropriate for this board to consider the record of Mr. and Mrs. Dobas as stewards of the properties they already rent and own. For instance, whether they are upholding the goal of sustaining the quality of Oklahoma City, or whether their properties are prone or likely to become nuisances or irritants to their neighbors and neighborhoods. Mayfair Hills has submitted to you a summary of the code violations reported to the City Action Center for each home share owned by Mark and Anna. The 5 properties have accumulated nearly 30 alleged code violations, or an average of 6 per property. The Dobas properties, it appears, provide City Action Center employees with a good measure of job security. I have copies of the summary if you'd like to look at it. In fact, if a city inspector went to the house at 3113 Northwest 54th right now, he or she would easily find at least 3 code violations, from trash and building materials scattered about in front of the house, to the unfenced pool, to a dangerous and unsecure backyard that has been that way for months. Based on their rental management track record, Mayfair Hills residents are not eager to have their quality of life and property values undermined or put at risk by a home share short-term rental operated by Mark and Anna. The safety and security threats inherent in home shares are disconcerting enough without the additional aggravation of city code violations. The current nature, character, and integrity of Mayfair Hills are among reasons the City Planning Commission specifically excluded this tiny area of 75 homes from the city's proposed accessory dwelling unit ordinance. Converting a house in Mayfair Hills to a motel would be a travesty. We implore you to just say no to one more Airbnb and the loss of one more potential family home in a safe, quiet, peaceful, yet dynamic neighborhood. Thank you for your consideration. I welcome your questions.
Anything from the board? Okay, thanks, sir. Do you want me to do the next one? Your choice.
I don't know how much more I can add to that.
Okay, give us your name and address one more time, please.
Ryan Winters, 3124 Northwest 54th Street. I am probably of all the homeowners that are here, and just about everybody except this young lady is homeowners in our neighborhood, I'm probably the least amount of time that I've lived there. I've been there almost 7.5 years. One of the reasons that I bought that property and wanted to live in that neighborhood is because it's quiet, it has families, it's off the beaten path. If you drove by it down Independence, you wouldn't even know it's there unless you drove into it. I raised concerns about property value, and by no means am I against Airbnbs or anything like that. I use them quite often when I go skiing in Colorado. I prefer them over hotels and so on. I just think this is the wrong area for it. We have many families, small children, families that walk through that neighborhood. A lot of nurses and doctors come over from Baptist Hospital to walk through that neighborhood during their lunch hours so they can, enjoy the fresh air or get the exercise. It's very quiet and peaceful. I'm not saying that the renters that he would have in there would be destructive or anything like that, but it has the potential for it, especially with a backyard pool. In my experience with Airbnbs and so on, short-term rentals, I've seen that happen numerous times in places that I've stayed. So that's the reason why I showed up here today. I worry about property values being low, as I said. And, like I said, I'm not against it, but I just think this is the wrong area for it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Pete Galvin.
start my timer so I make sure I don't go over here. My name is Pete Galvin. I live at 3105 Northwest 52nd Street. I've owned that house for 23 years, and I'm here to object to the application, ask that you deny it. If I'm understood Mr. Dobez's, one of his statements is he said there was no covenants prohibiting this short-term rental. I would beg to differ with him. There is a covenant document that was established in 1961, and it's been in effect since that time. And it talks about the properties in our neighborhood, Mayfair Hills neighborhood, are to be single-family dwellings, except for a few exceptions. There's some duplexes at the entrances, the two entrances of our neighborhood, that serves sort of like a buffer between the busy 50th Street. But it's very clear from those covenants that single-family dwellings is what was the intent. There, one of the provisions, paragraph number 2, says no lot or any portion thereof shall be used, occupied, or improved or developed other than for residential purposes exclusively, and no business of any kind may be conducted thereon. Also, it has a provision at paragraph number 3 that no noxious or offensive activity shall be carried on upon any lot or portion of the land covered by said map or plat, nor shall anything be done which may become a nuisance to the neighbors, or to the neighborhood, pardon me. So it would be our contention that a short-term rental property would not be consistent with those provisions. Although there's, it defines what a tenement house is as a multifamily dwelling, so I don't think that might normally apply to a boarding house type situation, but they've defined that in the document as a multifamily, so I'm not sure that prevents it, but it's clear that there's supposed to be residences there, and so it's what's not, maybe not in this agreement. What it doesn't say or doesn't allow is speaks as loudly as what it specifically does allow. And a boarding house, according to Black's Law Dictionary, is every private house where one or more boarders are kept occasionally and only upon special considerations. And the distinction, the dictionary goes on to say, a distinction between a boarding house and a private dwelling house is whether the house is occupied as a home for the occupant and his wife and child. So again, referring to that it's supposed to be only residences and dwellings is, and not saying anything about boarding house being allowed, I think would be one of the things that the board should consider. Lastly, I don't think Mr. Sankey referred to whether that you'll notice in the packets that you should have received for this hearing, we submitted a petition that had 68 signatures from residents in the neighborhood, which that represents 88% of the neighborhood. And that's not saying that 12% are in favor of it, it's just saying that's how many percentage of the neighbors actually signed the petition. So I would ask that the board consider that as well. And with that, I think that's all I have. Thank you.
And Scott Cotton.
I'm Scott Cotton. I live at 3229 Northwest 54th. If you come in off of Independence, I'm the second house you hit on the left. And I've lived there since 1990. And it's a great neighborhood. I've been there 35 years, but I can't add much to what these guys just said. But I'm in support of it.
Thank you. Okay. I think you want to speak again? No. Okay. I didn't have anybody else signed up. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay. No? Come on up if you want. Give us your name and address and...
My name is William Machin, 5305 North Drexel Circle. I'm not the newest resident, but I moved in January of 2023. I agree with these gentlemen and their position and that of the neighbors that this is an inappropriate neighborhood for a short-term rental. We do have long-term rentals in the neighborhood, and I think this property would be a great year or longer property. I do appreciate the time and resources they've invested in the property and improved its quality. I think that's a wonderful thing for the neighborhood, but it would be inappropriate for it to be a short-term rental. Thank you.
Okay. You want to respond, sir? Yes.
The only thing I would like to say that the violation which are put from on my operation are, most of them are coming from not from the short-term rentals, but from the rentals. This properties has been as a rentals for years until they got covered and transferred to the short-term rental period. If you have a tall grass and your tenant doesn't mow it, you will get the city notice. It will be on your record. You can't do much because he's gonna tell you, my lawnmower broke down, or I will do it next week. When you get the city notice, you can respond. You have some legal ability to do that. If they park on the grass or they do something, you know, as a tenant, the legal process to remove them and to address it is totally different than in the short-term rental. So all this stuff, like 12 inches grass, things on the front yard. The property we are talking about right now has a lock on the gate. So if somebody comes to the backyard, it either mess with the lock or mess with the gate. We have some materials on the front yard because we're still working on the house. There is some stones which are gonna be removed. We are doing the landscaping, and you can do some of this work in one day. This house has been in extremely bad condition with the trees growing from the swimming pool. When neighborhood was calling the bank to address the issues because the mosquitoes were flying. And you know, when we bought it, when we took over, we took care of all these problems. We redo the backyard. We drain the water. We solve most of the neighborhood's problems. And Airbnb is not something that it's better or worse of the rental. It can be bad. You can have a bad guest, but on the rental properties, you don't have much chance to respond unless you cancel the lease and go into court. That's all what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Anything from the board?
So,
Oh, we meant
at the podium, sorry. At the podium.
Okay. All right.
Because I just want to go over your application a little bit, make some adjustments, and just discuss. Obviously, there's a lot of protests on this.
It is.
A lot of neighborhood eyes, and you're the property manager. First, I want to talk about, for me, what I would have to have for me to grant a special exception on this property, and we're going to start with the number of guests. You have 8?
I have 8 because it's 3-bedroom and there's the living room, sofa, sleeper. So we put 8, like 2 per room, and you know, two
each room plus 1 or plus 2. I'm gonna say that for me, on the first term with this one, I'd like to see it at a maximum of 6.
That's fine.
I think with a pool, in consideration of the neighbors, the quiet hours would begin at 8 p.m.
That's fine.
Go to 8 a.m. The maximum number of vehicles that I could see on the property would be 4, with no on-street parking.
No, there is no, we don't allow that. There's plenty of places there's garage open for the guests. They can park in the garage, and there is place for 4 cars, so there is no need to park on the street.
Right. And then the maximum term would be 1 year. And I go through all those, and those are kind of criteria that we ask on all the applications. You know, we don't know how this is going to turn out. This is the very first time this property is going to be up for a short-term rental. The neighborhood, they seem to think it's a bad place for a short-term rental. I've seen a lot of short-term rentals around hospitals where there's traveling nurses, 3 nurses staying it. The neighbors don't even know what's going on, don't even know anything any different. Just make sure that the property is taken care of, it's managed well. You have other properties. You had one today, no protests in Warwick. I mean, so
yeah.
You can operate this as a good business. It can be a good business, and we expect nothing less.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I think we're ready for a motion.
See here. Motion to approve case number 15924 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested special exceptions with the following modifications. This application shall be good for a term of 1 year. Maximum number of guests shall be 6. Quiet hours from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. No on-street parking, and 4-car maximum.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. You're approved for a year.
Item number 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 have been continued or withdrawn, so we're going to go back to our item number 5, which is a request of Urati Construction LLC on behalf of Banging Enterprises for a variance to the 25-foot front yard setback located at 600 Southeast 27th Street.
I want to apologize, first of all, because I didn't know it was today. There's a lack of miscommunication between us of who was going to show up.
No problem. Give us your name and address and tell us about your application.
Judith Uriarte for Uriarte Construction, and the address is 600 Southeast 27th.
Okay. Tell us about your application.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Tell us about your application.
Well, they built over the building line. We're set to hear from zoning. Well, we called zoning, but I never got a call back. So I really don't know what was supposed to be happening. Yeah.
So today you're here to get a variance for building over the property line.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those that we need to send back to Planning Commission.
Not Planning Commission, but to Development Services.
Yeah.
To get a recommendation. Did you guys, did we hear back? Not that we can, I don't even know if we discussed another case, but we asked the Development Services to give a recommendation on another property. Okay.
And you said you've reached out to Development Services?
Well, last we were here, they were gonna call, didn't call, and I called city zoning, left voicemail, but I never got a call back.
For planning and zoning?
I believe so, with Cunningham, right? Was it, David? Yeah.
So, so we don't have a specific objection, except that our staff thinks it's an egregious violation, I mean, encroachment.
It's plus 5 feet, right?
Yeah, it's I thought it was even,
Yeah, it's over 5 feet.
well, it was, it was
submitted is showing a 5-foot encroachment. We measured a 10 because of that extra right of way. So I don't have a specific objection to you granting the variance. It's just their comment was that is egregious.
Property corner, probably.
In other words, it's not interfering with utilities or building code.
And
There's a property about 2 houses to the west. Is it built on a variance, or does it have a variance?
We didn't check that for you.
Yeah. So 27th Street has an extra wide right-of-way.
Okay, yes, so for this location, when you're looking at the map here, Southeast 27th has an 80-foot right-of-way, so it's 40 foot from the center line. Normally, in a lot of neighborhoods, the right-of-way is only 50 feet. So what planning staff assumes is that in this case, the 25-foot front setback from the property, it's normally 25 feet from the property line, and it should have been placed 65 feet back from the center line. Instead, it's 55 feet back from the center line.
Cindy, that property's at 612 Northwest, or
Okay.
Southeast 27th. And if you guys want to send it back to get a, this is infill development on this street. This lot's been empty for a while. The lot next door is empty.
And Sarah, did you say there's no concerns for utilities? There's no interaction with the utilities
Well,
with this?
yeah, utilities would be within the right-of-way.
Yeah. And they're still past the right of way. They're just 10 foot inside
But
where the
not-
build line.
Yeah, they're on their property, they're just within the
They're at
setback.
10 instead of 20, or 15 instead of 25.
We think that, right, we think they are, the survey that was submitted said, plus or minus 5 feet. When we scaled it, we thought it was 10. It makes sense if it's 10, just because of the way that
They
if
would've
you pull
pulled.
from the center line or from the curb.
Let me ask a question. Has the sale of this property closed, or is it awaiting closing?
It's waiting, closing.
Yeah. They can't close without the variance.
Thank you.
And I'm okay with granting the variance today. The house is built. It matches the properties, the other properties that are built. Just goes, what do you guys think? I mean, a determination that you're going to get from development services is that property's built.
Yeah.
There's not a whole other.
And this is a little bit different than what we dealt with the encroachments on the side yard, because we at least had the fire consideration, which worked to add as a deterrent, or at least we could use it as a deterrent in terms of added fire prevention measures being taken, but it's not a concern here. And if utilities doesn't have any concern with them being 10 feet into that right-of-way, I don't know that there's anything that we could do to quote-unquote mitigate the issues with utilities.
I agree.
So, and to be just candid, that's what I'm struggling with, is the fact that I think a variance is needed. I think it's warranted, but I don't see any easy way to deter that type of behavior in this particular application, or in any application where, the circumstances are similar.
Nobody signed up to speak on this one. And I don't see anybody that wants to object.
No, I don't either. And I will state that all the houses on the west side going west are all in alignment with that. I mean, they all appear to be at
So I'm gonna say, I'm fine with it.
25 feet from back curb.
I'm fine with granting the variance, but I will personally be at least in thought about what an appropriate solution should be facing this problem again in the future.
I mean, we've talked about it, right? We've met on how do we do.
There's just not a lot of things you can do with the front yard setback. That's
Yeah, the
kind
stuff
of the
we've talked
issue.
about have been like the side yards,
Yeah,
which,
protecting the neighbors. This is, they don't encroach on the right of way to the utility easements. There's not any interference. It's kind of the standard of what a normal, regular.
I mean, I'm on board to
application.
implement something if you've got an idea. It
Yeah.
just fails me right now to think of a
Yeah.
solution that may deter this, given this specific case.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna fix it with this one here. I just think
No, I mean,
Going
I think
forward.
we've discussed the long-term solution of an actual survey, but
Well, on our end, our solution is just to be a little more careful moving forward.
yep.
What are
You
the-
you do now know.
Yeah. Well,
get
yeah,
it,
now that I'm
you
the
know,
one being
right.
here for them.
But a standard is to pull behind the curb 25 feet. That's where you build the house. It's just, sometimes you don't realize that on a city neighborhood street that's still 26 feet wide, that there's an additional 10 foot of easement on each side of the road. You just don't know it.
Sarah, what's worst case scenario and long-term implications of this? Is there ever a situation where the city will come through, and you may be able to speak to this also, and say, hey, we actually need that extra 10 feet?
We're gonna streetscape 27th Street through that area. I mean, I don't know why else they would have ever had that much right away. To add a median in another lane, 20 more feet. So, but like I said, going west, they all line up.
So just to be clear, you're saying going west from this property, the fronts of all the houses line up with this property as built. So it's not like this property is
Sticking forward.
Is
and- right,
sticking forward.
You
It
don't
just
even notice.
lines up with the
Yeah.
rest of them.
Right. And a new build at 612 is also appears to be the same location.
Do you have a buyer for this?
No, no, I'm just representing the company.
No,
But you're at closing, or you want to
Oh,
close?
this is different agents. They're different investor. Banking Enterprises is the seller. They have their own agent.
So there's not currently a contract on this?
Yes.
There is a
The bu-
contract.
They're
on
under
it.
contract, yes.
Not you, but the owner has
The
a
owners,
contract to
yeah.
sell.
We just did the construction. And they only found out through the title company that they're
Yeah.
closing with.
Yep. You're not the first person to come here with this.
Okay.
So the variance solves the problem, not only for them, but it'll solve it for the new owners and any subsequent owners.
Forever.
I'm just trying to make sure that we're not leaving any of those people down the line with a situation or issue that they'd find themselves in due to no fault of their own. And if there's not really a concern as far as having their property torn up for some type of utility improvement, then
I mean, can the city give away the 10 foot, the extra 10 feet?
Give it back to the property owner?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they could.
Release that 10
Yeah.
foot, right?
It could happen, yeah.
Yeah, there's a process for that. It's an easement closure application that people who abut the right-of-way can request. It goes to Planning Commission, City Council, and then
they get it
it's
back.
eventually vacated.
is that done on property by property, or is that like a large, like you would decide from this block to that block?
Usually we do blocks.
We typically, yeah, or we do, a lot of times it's just encroachments, like for a building that was built over the right-of-way or an easement. They can't come to you for a variance
Because it's over.
because it's over the public's right-of-way. So we've had, the ones that the Planning Commission usually sees
situations like that. We've had some cases where someone has come in, mostly in like the downtown areas, to remove or to try to request strips or narrowing of the street right-of-way so they can get more property to develop or develop at or within right on the street line.
And that's a lot of houses that have already been built on that street. I can't see.
Well, is that a request, is that a requirement that we could levy? Is that, if there's an
really
application
easy.
process for that?
I would hesitate to say that that is a solution for this situation. The easement closures, it's really public right-of-way, so there really should be a public purpose for removing the access for the public to right-of-way.
Yeah. So really, they're just 10 feet instead of 20 feet. It's a setback.
Did you ask if there's new construction in the area?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how do we give peace of mind to all the homeowners that are.
Because there is new, like, I think there's
Yeah, there's a lot of
4
infill
new
development
ones that
in here.
haven't sold.
Yeah.
We're
trying to make it
We think they're
right.
we think they're about 14 or 15 feet away from the property line. So their front yard will still be about 14 feet.
It's a lot of discussion on an application that I feel like I know where it's going, so I'll go ahead and get that out the way. But motion to approve case number 15891 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested variance.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. You're approved.
Thank you. And I apologize for the delay again. Sorry. Have a good day.
All right, I have no additional items. We don't have any board committees. I already said what I wanted to. Rita, you got anything?
Actually, I do.
Okay, Municipal Counselor's
Okay,
Office.
so I want to know if you actually do want a formal opinion on the question that came up earlier. And I wrote a note about it someplace.
Regarding the driveway.
I think so. So do you want a formal opinion on that as a board?
It wouldn't hurt to have some guidance.
Okay.
Is that all right? Okay. Guidance
So-
would be appreciated.
So I can do that. Do you mind as chair sending me an email to that effect?
If you'll remind me,
I will. I will do it.
send me an email and
I will
remind me.
do it. Thank you.
All right. There are no citizens to be heard. I don't have any other business.
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. So on June the 5th, we have a large docket, and we only have one meeting in June, and that's usually when we do the elect our new chair and vice chair. So you'll need to keep nominations, thinking if something needs to change, or if you want to run, be selected. We'll be doing that in our meeting in June. So that's our next meeting. And then that meeting, we have like 29 cases already. We continued some today, so it's going to be a long meeting. So hopefully everyone can attend, and if you can't, let us know. So make sure we have quorum with that big of a docket.
I'm letting you know I'll be out of town.
Okay.
I'm checking right now because that's my anniversary trip. I'm sometime around there.
I'm trying to think where I should go.
I'll be here.
You'll be here? Okay.
If there's 3 of us, we go real fast.
Oh, man.
I'm gone June 6th, so I'm here.
Yeah.
So are we going to be good with the quorum? Because that's a lot of people that we need to notify. June 5th.
I will be able to be here till about 3. If not, I may be fine. My wife may divorce me by that point.
We'll have 3
So,
then.
I'll be here from 1 to 3.
3.5,
I can
okay.
commit to that.
3.5.
Till 3 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay.
So an hour and a half.
Okay. Anything? Anybody? I think we're adjourned.